All right, all right, all right. We're back for our sixth podcast. I'm here with Tom Jara. Tom Jara, I met through the K-Chef network of events over the last 6 or so months. Tom Jara is the owner of Wonderman Handyman. Tom, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
And it's great. Tom has actually done work at my home. We needed some stuff done, and after meeting Tom, and over at a couple of these networking events, I said to him, "Listen, my wife has a list of stuff that has to get done," and I always feel that everybody does what they do best, and what I do best is run a web and marketing company, and what Tom does best is run his handyman business. So I had my wife coordinate and call Tom directly, give Tom her honey-do list, and it's all done. And I look great because I recommended Tom to my wife. So that's how we got started. But Tom also had an issue with his Google business, and he reached out to Wingman to get that help situated. And so we've it's been nice to get to know you.
Oh, yeah.
And I think when you started to text me and we started talking about the podcast and what's going on in your world, I thought you were a great guest. This is fairly new, so my thought is we kind of talk about just you getting started, because you're somewhat new into this business and you're somewhat grinding and working and hustling, and
Yeah.
you've met the word grit head on.
Yeah, multiple times and it doesn't stop.
So tell everybody how you got started, what you're doing, and
So, I mean, if I just fast forward to out of high school, I went to school for being a mechanic, learned all sorts of automotive. I bounced around a couple shops in the very beginning, landed at like Dodge, Jeep, Chrysler, and then I was bouncing around Jeep dealerships, just doing work for them for it had to be at least like 10 years. But I mean, it was just I could say that I guess it was just I couldn't agree with a lot of things that some of the businesses had, so. I ended up getting out of that, did a little, wildlife work, learned how to work on exterior of homes and stuff, and, all sorts of stuff like that. And then I want to say, what year did I say it was? I don't remember. But
we're in 2023 right now.
2023. I lose track of time. It's crazy. But I got started. I just started doing side work, on my own. I just kind of thought, if I'm making X amount and I'm getting this amount for somebody else, why would I not be able to do it for myself? And on top of that, I had my family. I had two kids. My oldest is 10, Elena, and then my middle is Nathan. He's 5.
Okay.
So at that time I had them. I had to look out for them, my family. So I was like, I got to make the money somehow. I started doing side jobs like, doors, storm doors, all sorts of exterior work, cleanup, leaves, power washing. It led to, people wanted me to just come all the time, and I was just able to be like, you know what? I think I'm done with working for somebody. I'm going to do it on my own.
So you jumped all in.
I just jumped in it. I mean, I did it on the side for a little bit just to get the taste of it full time, but, come October of last year, I jumped in it. I did all the legal stuff for New Jersey. I researched it, that was already like a challenge in its own, because for someone like me, I can't look at a book. I can't think of a script.
You're a hands-on learner.
You give me the ratchet and this, and you say, take that engine apart. I'll take it apart, fix it. You make mistakes everywhere you go, but I would take care of that. I have the ability to learn a lot of different trades and be really good at all of them. And then just from there, it's like whatever piques my interest is what gets better.
So October 2022 happens. You go you go from a side hustle to a full.
Yes.
You're gonna go all in. You quit where you were employed, and now you're now going to be the Wonderman Handyman, and you're incorporated, and you have doing all that stuff. Now you're a one-man show.
Yes.
So that's hard.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you're the guy who's doing the work, scheduling the work, billing for the work.
Yeah.
Getting the next job, getting the referral,
looking for anything that needs to be done. Yep. Yeah.
So you're that guy. So now that's a very tough job, and
It's
you're at
hard.
a part where grit really kind of you've met grit head on at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And you're ready to take it on.
Yes, yes.
So you go through the holidays, and do people need you for everything for that, right?
Everything. I mean, I haven't even thought to do like Christmas lights, and I've had already a handful of people in the last week. I have my own lights. Can you come hang them up for me on my house or on my bush and this and that? And yeah, sure, I'll
Yeah.
be there. I have
So
no
you
problem
just
doing
take
that.
on every job.
Anything I can.
Like
Anything
you
I
said
can.
to me about the leaf cleanup, so
Yes.
you do, and I know you do beautiful power washing job, and I know
Thank
you
you.
do the windows and you do the screens.
Yep.
And like that I have firsthand knowledge of because you did it at my home.
Yes.
But now you're doing all these other kind of so. Someone just throws something out at you, and as long as you can feel that you can do it and do it well, you'll take that job on.
Exactly.
And then add it to your list of services.
Add it to my list. Yeah, as long as
So the
long as
next
I can
house
enjoy
you go
it.
to, you're like, oh, I do that too.
Exactly. I mean, that's how like the power washing started. I strictly thought that I was gonna do like construction work and stuff because, I'm not good at everything that I like that's out there to do. Like I don't know flooring and stuff like that, but like I can do trim and some cabinets and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I know I can make a good living out of this. But then when I did the power washing and like not the traditional way, but like you see the guys with the pressure, I mean, I've had multiple customers. Like it's summertime. That's all I was doing was power washing because everybody was like, I want you there. I want you to get my house clean. I ended up building a whole trailer dedicated to
awesome.
this.
That's great. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the word grit hits that hard too. I mean, like just like last month, the trailer that I had, something happened to it. I had to think quick because I was doing a lot of gutter cleaning. Still people getting house washes even at this time of the year.
This is like the end of the house wash.
Yeah,
season
this is
now.
when everybody's like, oh, Thanksgiving, Christmas is coming. My family's coming over, my friends, I got to impress them with my nice house.
Yep,
Like, I want to get it cleaned, so they have me come and do it.
And what's
And
the frequency of a house cleaning like? Is it a yearly thing? Is it
It's-
every other year?
It depends on, like, where the house is. Like, if you're on the beach and you have no trees around and you have sun, it could be, like, every 2 to 3 years if you get it done the correct way. If
Sure.
you're in the woods, and you have nothing but trees around you and the mold will grow back in, like, maybe less than a year.
Yep.
I usually guarantee my stuff for a year. I haven't really seen anything,
Yep.
come back.
I have the trees. I have a lot of them.
Yes.
So I'm on the yearly plan, as I guess.
But
what
I
you're
like
telling me.
yes. Yeah, we're gonna,
I think that was a nice way of saying, Tom, you're going to be doing this every year.
Yes.
But I mean, on the other side, is you're building a recurring base of customers. I mean, so right now it's hard as hell. I get it. You're pushing at all angles and all levels, and you have a family and you have 3 children, and they need your time, and you're pushing. But on the other side of that is, again, if you have a happy customer in the Mirabella family, which you
Yep.
do,
Thank you.
and next year, in April, Cindy's going to call you and say, hey, Tom, get me on the schedule.
Yeah.
So this year's hard, but next year and the year after should become easier because, one, you're adding more services to your offering.
Yes.
And 2, you have recurring customers that need that job. And again, if for example, we'll use me in this case. If I didn't do it this year, I'm not going to do it next year. Like, why would I? Like, it's just
Right.
not going to be a thing. Where, again, so you're going to have customers there. You're going to need like a little CRM system to really start just and do like even we're talking about postcards before when you first got here, but like do postcard mailings so that you can get them on the schedule and build the schedule and know that you have rain days and know that you have other things
Yep.
going on that you have these customers so that next year it's not as hard of a hustle and you're working smarter, not harder on that
Right.
one.
Right. Yeah, and I definitely need to get the postcards done, so I'll probably be hitting you up for that
Yep.
really soon.
But yeah, I think that like when you think about it, like your world just never like your next thing in my mind. I mean, you're going to tell us, but is to hire the right team of people to help you because you can't be everything to everyone everywhere.
Yeah.
And especially like the difference I guess at Wingman is I'm behind the desk most of the day, so it's hard. It's still hard to talk to everyone and to help everyone.
Right.
But I'm in one location. You got to get in your car and you got to go from Ocean Gate to Point Pleasant to Freehold to Howell to
Yeah,
Belmar
I'm all
and
over.
everywhere in between. I mean, you're and again with. You can't do everything from a car. Like you can't yes, you can talk to a customer and schedule an appointment, but like
You gotta remember to
you
put
gotta
it on the schedule.
Yeah, you got or you got to do a note, a voice note to say,
Yeah.
Add so and so to the schedule for Tuesday.
It's funny. I text my wife actually. I text my wife like, make estimate for this person, this much. So it's like she almost is like she's like my ghost secretary in a way.
So she's now got the job of getting the proposals going.
She's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm like, it's
Doesn't
there
matter,
for
just
me. My
write
notes.
those things down and we're good to go. So that's awesome. So your wife's starting to help you with the administrative side of the business?
No, I mean no,
not yet.
She's just I try to pitch it to her once in a while. I'm like, hey, help me out a little bit, and she lets me text her. I guess she doesn't bug. She's not like, hey, stop it, you know. But other than that, it would be nice to have her help. But I mean, looking for people, I've thought of it, obviously, being in the truck, trying to call a customer while trying to follow the GPS, it's crazy. It's hard. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one thing that I think, as I remember going back, 14 years ago, the first time I hired a part-timer, I was like, oh man, I was stressing it. I was like, you got to,
I got to pay somebody.
You got to pay someone. And,
income.
when it's your own income and it's on you, well, that's a big enough challenge in of itself. But now when you have somebody else's response, like you're responsible for someone else, and at the end of the day, you can't tell them, oh, I had a bad week. Oh, in your case, oh, it rained. Oh, is this like there's so many? You have more variables than I have to deal with. Rain and weather doesn't affect me. But on the other side is you get the benefits of you have a big rainstorm, you have more work.
Yeah.
You have snow, you have more work.
Yeah.
So and the leaves fall down, you have more work. So you have there's differences, but there's also things that you have to there's elements outside of that you're fighting with. So I mean that's the next thing I think is that next level of grit is going to be you kind of saying, all right, I got to bite the bullet, and and then you got to think about like as you grow, like how do you grow smart, because the last thing you want to do is have all these customers that you can't service.
Yeah,
because like I used Tom, but he never gets back to me. He said he was coming Tuesday, he hasn't been here yet. Like that, and I think that a lot of contractors, have that rep, and it's not that it's not for a lack of trying. I don't think that the general homeowner, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, understand the life of a contractor, and how many other factors go into it.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've had to reach back out to a customer to just make sure, like, hey, I reminded you, like I try to make sure I remember to send out reminders for whatever service they're getting, and like you said before with the CRM stuff, like I'm now just getting into the area where I have to go back to my repeat customers. Mm-hmm. So I do have like an app called Job Nimbus or whatever right now that I started using in the beginning. So now I'm going back to all of that. I'm trying to be like, okay, what did I charge this person for their leaf cleanup? All yesterday was leaf cleanups for repeats. So they texted me. So now that reminded me, like, I gotta go back, send everybody these estimates, this and that.
And again, I think though the good thing is if you do nice work, mm-hmm. and you're honest with the customer, they want to work with you. Like they want, and again, the same thing. You hear all these stories of contractors and people that just don't do the right thing for the homeowner. So like if you're there doing the right thing, mm-hmm. like they want to work with you. They don't want to go find somebody else. So it's just a matter of staying on top of it. Exactly. So and again, I think in my mind, there's like a monthly checklist. Like coming into September, all right, well, we're gonna get the end of the people that are the house washing, and start thinking about the leaf cleanup, and start thinking next year, about doing the Christmas lights and doing more of it. And I think that I heard, just kind of from catching up with you and Jimmy, like you help Jimmy and Jimmy helps you.
Yeah.
Jimmy's gonna be on in the next couple weeks too.
Nice.
So and I think his story is going to be, an inspiration and hard work and grit. And,
oh yeah.
He's a competitor.
Oh yeah.
He seems like a force of nature.
Yes, he's a good guy. It's nice to be in touch with like your competitors. I mean, there's more than enough to go around. Even Jimmy said it when I first reached out to him in springtime. I just reached out to him. I said, hey Jimmy, I seen your business. I like what you're doing. Have a great season this year. If you need any help on any big jobs, give me a ring.
Yep.
And I mean, I've helped him once or twice. He's thrown a couple paver ceilings my way. So I also network with like all the local businesses because I like to try to stay within a reasonable price range with everybody. Know how everybody else is kind of like running their show. so we can create a standard for whatever industry. You
Yep.
know.
And it's good because there's more than you said it. There's more than enough work to go around. Like
Exactly.
there's no shortage of people that need help around their house, around their business. And again, I don't even know if you started doing work on businesses, but the same gutter cleanups,
Yeah.
the same power washing and
Yep.
roof washings that happen
I've
in
done
the
a couple.
residential.
Yeah, I've done actually my storage unit, in the springtime for their gutters, and I just did recently a fall cleanup for them too.
Yeah.
And it's I network, like I said, I network with everybody that I speak to as much as I can. I'll go to my kid's birthday party and I'll make sure I have business cards with me, and maybe wear like a slight,
Sure.
shirt like this, and and I've actually gotten work like that. One mother was like, "Oh, I saw your business and I just needed a cabinet hung," and I was at her house hanging her cabinet. She's like, "That's so funny. I just looked it up on Google and I saw it," and I was like, "Oh, that's so and so's dad." And there I was.
Yeah, you were the guy.
Yeah.
So that's great. How do your kids like having their dad owning their own business?
I mean, I was working crazy hours before, and now I'm even working crazier hours now. So I think they enjoy being able for me to like maybe make my own schedule, so I can go do things, take them places. We just went on vacation a couple months ago. We just went to like New York. We went to Legoland, took them to a couple places. We had some fun. Nickelodeon Universe, that was pretty cool
Awesome.
too. But I think it's benefited them too. They're very. I feel like they're a lot more happy with me doing my own thing and not coming home and being all depressed and everything about. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm always coming home frustrated or, overwhelmed or something.
It's a different frustration when it's your own frustration.
Yes.
I read something, I read like a meme, it said like something like, when you're doing it for somebody else and you're frustrated, it's stress. When you're doing it for yourself, it's passion. It's, so I think that's, kind of plays into that. And I think, when you look at, that, how you've overcome a lot. You've overcome a lot over the years, and, now your next challenge is going to be to continue to grow your business and how to focus on the right things that so that you can work to grow the business. And at some point you're going to want to work on the business, not in the business. They say that. And right now you are still the hands-on guy, but eventually you'll be the guy who's training people to do what you do and what you do well.
That would be very nice. It just crossed my mind like that idea, and just because I've been in the heat of it,
You're in the heat of it. You're in the middle of everything. You're in the middle of the sale. You're in the middle of the scheduling, the estimating, the billing, the doing. But at some point, you're going to have to, if you want to grow and you want to take it to the next level, you're going to need to pull back. Again, when I first started, I was making the websites, I was editing the websites, I was editing the text. And then when somebody came on, I said, all right, you're going to just do that. And I never thought, like at the time when I was first hiring somebody, if you heard my first podcast, it was stressful. You're like, how am I going to get this money every week to make sure that they're covered? And then as that happened, more and more people, I was seeing more and more people and having more and more meetings, and they were like, oh yeah, we need this done, to your point, just like you're saying. And now I'm giving that work to that person, and now she went from 20 hours to 30 hours, and 30 hours to 40 hours, and then said we need to hire someone. So because it freed me up not to be sitting behind the computer looking at that edit or passing it along and saying, please handle this edit and update the website for this customer, I was meeting more people that needed web updates. And then again, we started designing the brochures and the booklets and the pamphlets and the flyers and the postcards, and then doing the social media. So like it started to change, and then that one person became two people, and now you're like, oh wow. And I think now at this point, we have 20 or so full-time employees that work for Wingman, and it's not as scary when you bring on a new employee. Now it's like you look at the business model and you say, all right, well we're getting these customers in that need help, so you gotta bring on someone to handle the work. So I think that's your next logical progression in your business, and it's going to be hard. Getting out of the day to day. I'm
come to you for a lot of advice and guidance. I'm going to be honest, because
and you should. I would love to help you, because I think the hardest part is getting out of the day to day. I used to say, if you see Chelsea one day, you can talk to her. I used to say, Chelsea, no one can answer the phone. I'm the only one that can answer the phone, and I would be like, and when I said it, I believed it. I was like, they need to talk to me, and then I was like now I look at it 14 years later, I'm like, now I'm like, try to get when Kristen answers the phone at my office, try to get as much information as you can, so we could just so that it's the most efficient use of time, efficient for the customer, efficient for our team, efficient for me. Because again, there are times where if that message goes right to Nicole or to Dave, they can process it well faster than I can. I'm sitting here talking to you on the podcast. I haven't looked at my phone in the last 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So if there was an urgent issue, well, if you got it to Dave or Nicole, they might be able to process it. If you got it to Tony, she might be able to have handled the whole job already before I even see the message.
Right.
But at the time when I said it, I believed like, oh, the customer can only talk to me. But that was a limiting factor. And as I started to realize I had to delegate, otherwise I was going to make myself crazy, and two, I was never going to be able to grow. I would always have a business, and I'd always be self-employed, but I'd be a one-man show.
Yeah.
Versus if I started to delegate access and delegate work and again, there's going to be times where an employee's going to make a mistake. And you could have done it better.
Yeah.
But you also have to think about, well, if they can do it 90% of the time better, just as good as you, well, what does that do to your business? It allows you to go out and grow and go to more networking events and go meet more people who need your services, and then you can hire, train, and get them to that next level. And again, do overseeing of them. Go check in on them. Go check on with the customer. And again, you'll see it in the Google reviews. You'll see it in your email inquiries. Many times you'll see that the customer is very happy with the service. And if there's a problem, then you're there to be that guy. And while you're trying to continue to grow and keep this operation, I think the beautiful thing in your world is there's not like a lot of handymen that are like, a lot of them are just like, they do it because they don't know what else to do, and they maybe not, they don't want a full-time job, or they don't want to own a construction company. But like the way you're doing it, from what I see and from what I see on social media, what I see from you working at my own home, is you really care about the customer, you really care about the job you're doing, you really care about your business and yourself, right, and who you are, and that integrity goes a long way.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I always try to make sure that was like the number one thing when I switched over from being an employee to a business owner, was like I wanted to make sure the customer felt like they were like a friend of mine,
Mm-hmm.
like they're speaking to somebody that they can be honest with and they can, trust with, whatever it is that they need done.
Yep.
And I don't want them to always feel like, they have a salesman there just trying to take every single dollar from them, because I know I struggle still to this day. I'm just like everybody else would, maybe with, financially with everything going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more realistic when it comes to like talking to a customer.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get it. Like this 55 plus community, I automatically knock money off because I know how they struggle.
Sure.
I know that. What am I saying? I know that like a lot of people don't want to be taken advantage of, and I'm not there to do that because I don't like that either.
I mean, well, you're a consumer too. Like, so when you leave being the business owner, you're a consumer. When you go to a restaurant or you go out,
Mm-hmm.
You're a consumer. So as much as of course you don't want to see someone get taken advantage of, because you don't want to be taken advantage of yourself.
Exactly.
In another instance, I always, and when I talked to JT last week, we were talking about, like, I could never offer a service that I wouldn't subscribe to myself. So if I'm not going to pay to get postcards made, or if I'm not going to pay to get a website, I could never tell another customer. I could never tell you really should have a website if I don't have one myself.
Right.
And I think that's the key. Like, so if you're not willing to, offer the services you offer, if you're not willing to do them yourself and or have them service yourself, it's very hard as to make a customer do that. And I think you see that sometimes with in my business, there's a lot of guys that all of a sudden they buy a laptop computer and they're WordPress developers, and they don't really know what they're doing, but it's a very low cost to entry. You have a computer, you have a laptop, you can start building websites. So, but again, are these people going to be in business? So like you said you have a warranty of 1 year on your work. I think the beauty of educating the consumer is, like, know what you're getting the warranty. A warranty is as good as the person who offered it. So, over the years, someone said to me, "Oh, this company's going to do web updates and edits for free for 3 years, and you don't have that in your proposal." I said, "I don't." I said, "But is this company going to be around in 3 years to offer you those web updates?" And
right. Yeah.
So like I'm not saying that they shouldn't not use a company like that, but I think you have to know what you're getting into, and I think as you continue to grow and as you continue to do, I think you want to put that stamp of integrity and that you're going to be their guy. Like, you're not going anywhere. And I've always said that. You asked this morning about the Manasquan building. My Manasquan building is our larger building, and where more employees work. But I own that building. I bought it about 5.5 years ago, and when people walk in, I say, we're not going anywhere. It's not like we're working out of
Right.
my mom's basement, and if it doesn't work out, I close the laptop up and I go get a job. I mean, we own a building on Route 70 in Manasquan, so I feel like that's a stamp of our approval that we're not we're
Oh,
here
yeah.
we're here for the long term.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, anything crazy crazy things have happened, but the idea is that we're here for the long term. And when we opened up Belmore, where we're doing this recording today, the idea is that we want to be part of these local communities. Like if you go down Main Street right now, there's veteran banners hanging up on their lampposts that Wingman designed and
nice.
printed for them, so for the township. And I think as we continue to grow, we want to be in areas where there's, a business community, because I think that helps, in the services that we offer. We don't offer any business, business to consumer. We're all business to business. So, we want to be in these areas where we can help the community and the town to continue to grow. So, so final thoughts. What are you thinking for, as you continue to grow, where do you think that your next, challenge with grit is gonna be?
I think, like you said, thinking about how I can grow in general really is going to be hard enough. But where my next steps are, like, do I want to bring at least one person on, and what am I going to have them do? Like, do I want to bring on somebody that can help me with at least marketing and take that off, because I can't tell you how many times I'm like, oh man, I forgot to make a post, on this to promote this and whatnot.
You're pretty good at those posts, though. You're
Yeah.
posting and you're sharing. I follow you, and I see you hitting those up every morning. So
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's good, and I try to hit the like button every time I see it for you, because I think that's important. Like, you must get a lot out of those groups.
Yeah, I mean, that's a majority of my business comes from either referrals or those groups. So I'll land the new customers that way, and then they'll tell their friends and family and whatnot, or they have a business or a rental property, and I go there and I do whatever they need there.
Maybe you want to set up a referral program.
I should.
A formalized referral program for people.
See, I got a million different things going through my head at once, and that's another one too. The referral programs, like bundle programs as well, like with washing and fall cleanup. Maybe I'm already doing it with house washing for gutters. So I mean, you've seen a couple of them.
You might want to do a contract like with a yearly maintenance, like you'll do
Like
this,
property
this, and
management.
this, like property management.
Yeah.
When you think about it, all the HVAC companies, they do service contracts. Why do they do service contracts? So that you get your fall tune up, and you get your spring before the AC goes on. And I know, because we do work for a few of them, that the customers love it. The customers, like, as much as they don't want a maintenance contract, but on the other side is they know that they're going to get checked out, before the heating season, before the cooling season, because that first hot day, you want that air working. So, but it's the same thing in your world. The first nice day when the kids are in the backyard, then parents are outside looking at the house, and they're like,
Yeah,
oh.
that's how it usually works.
But, and that's when your phone starts to ring.
Yep.
But I think when, one thing to consider is, coming up with that bundle, and that bundle could be 3 or 4 options, and maybe Mrs. Jones wants 1 and 2 and not 3 and 4, or, and you just kind of work that, and then again, that helps build that calendar, and then it's not as scary to hire that employee.
That's true.
Offline, we could talk about some other things that you might want
Yeah,
to do.
definitely. We're
But
gonna have to talk.
maybe we could help you with kind of launching some of these things. But I think that you're on the right step. I love what you're doing. I encourage you to continue, because I see it. I've seen you, like I said, at the KSHEV events, talking about the stuff you do. I've seen you online talking about the stuff you do, and I think it's great. And I think that it's great that you're there to be helpful, to be their guide. You're their wingman and working in their house. So I mean, awesome stuff, and I'm glad that you were able to come on today. And
Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
keep taking on the challenge, and beating it.
I definitely will.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Shout out all your socials real quick.
I have Instagram, Wonderman Handyman, Facebook, Wonderman Handyman. You can find me on TikTok. You just type in the Wonderman Handyman, and I should be the only one there, if not
Yep.
the only one that I've known.
All right. So the Wonderman Handyman on all your social medias.